Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Donkey Kong 64, Part 31. Part 31, that's right, I can remember numbers, I know what I'm doing. Fellas, this is the second video I'm recording today, but unlike the typical scenario, right? Unlike the typical scenario where I usually record both videos back to back, this is an exception. I took a little bit of a break earlier and took a nap. That's right, fellas. I have napped because that little buffet thing I told you guys about earlier, yeah, there was not a nap before that. You guys were experiencing bloated old me, and I'm still bloated. Like, let's not get it twisted. Okay, let's just not get it twisted real quick. But that being said, I am feeling more rested. I can tell you that much. Fellas, welcome back to another episode of Donkey Kong 64. In the last episode, we cleared out the rest of what we had to do for Tiny. I think, actually, maybe it was mostly an episode. Well, yeah, I think we cleared out everything for Tiny. Did a couple things as Chunky. Got a new move for Chunky for a GB that I think is literally right here. I think it's right here. Is this it? Certainly looks like it. Yep, there's just a GB there. There's just a GB there. Okay, cool. So we got the rabbit one. Find the small room with the giant rock. Turn into Hunky Chunky and carry it to the revolving switch. Allows you to access the banana in the eye. Yeah, okay, I got that. New potion. Yeah, final banana is in the cabin. Okay, we have to do the cabin one. That makes sense. All right. But fellas, hope you all are doing well. Hey, I've got a story for you. Got a story for you guys. It's retro achievements related. No, it doesn't have to do with my current playthrough I'm doing of Mario Advance Yoshi's Island, but what it does have to do with, right, is telling you guys a little bit about the other achievement of the week that I've done. Because, as I've told you guys, I think I told you guys this, I've been doing achievement of the week on retro achievements for about 2 weeks now. I did last week's, which was that Arcana Hearts 2 game that I told you guys about. That was a very weird fighting game that was basically a Japan exclusive, right? I don't know why I kind of forgot. Okay, hopefully this minigame's not bad. If it's bad, we're skipping it, okay? Well, or we could do that. Or we could do that. Right, okay. But yeah, so I obviously told you guys about Arcana Hearts 2, which is just a awfully difficult fighting game that is not made any better by the fact that it is a Japan exclusive. So readability basically equaled none because I can't read Japanese, right? I can't do that. So obviously I got that handled. Now, that being said, that was last week's achievement of the week. And you may be thinking, hey, did you ever do achievement of the week for this week? And to that I say, yes. I did do achievement of the week for this week. It was for a game called... What am I doing? I literally was supposed to get the Gorilla Gone thing. Am I okay? I might not be okay. But it was for a game that I guess is based off of like an animated cartoon series. I'm not really too sure, but it was called Sabrina the Animated Series Zapped. It was a game for the Game Boy Color, and it was a weird, like, 2D platformer with some Metroidvania level design. Obviously, it was very much a licensed, sort of series game, and, I mean, obviously, we all know how jank those can be, right? We all know how jank those can be. That being said, I think infinitely figuring out how I was going to, traverse that game was a much easier process than, say, Arcana Hearts 2. It was a much different process. Searchlight Seek, I think we could do this. Yeah, you just have to, like, you have to think slightly ahead, you know? I think the only difference is I've just got to up my frequency, okay? No! Okay, they're actually being sort of generous here. I say as I miss. Thank you. I appreciate that. Boink. Thank you. Oh my god, I thought I was gonna be doing way worse. Where are you? Bro. That was like, That was easy breezy, bro. Easy breezy, lemon squeezy. Dude, I don't know how I'm doing that. That's GB number 4 for Chunky, and I believe we have already gotten his. I want to say we've already gotten his. I mean, yeah. Yeah, well, no, actually, we haven't. That's interesting. I'm kind of surprised that I didn't just say at some point, hey, we're going to go grab that. Would have saved me a bit of time, but hey, it pads out the time for this episode, am I right? Before we are about to go to the boss. About 5 minutes into the episode. That was a little unexpected, to be honest. We may actually end up doing a little bit of the next level this episode, but it depends on how things go. But yeah, so the game is not that bad. If none of you have heard what Sabrina the Animated Series is basically like, it like I said, it has some Metroidvania level design choices that are weird. Basically, Sabrina has a couple different moves that she can get to traverse through things. She has like a triple midair jump sort of ordeal. What am I actually doing? I'm like in the midst of this conversation and proper gameplay has gone out the window, as it does typically. But you know, you've got basic jump stuff. You've got this move where you can ground pound certain blocks. You know, you unlock a ground pound ability. There's like this late game ability where you can phase through certain walls that have arrows next to them. It's like you don't actually start ever seeing that until the last world of the game, so you don't really get a chance to see that power up often. But power-ups aside, your main goal is to basically get a bunch of the enemies, and by a bunch of the enemies, I mean all of the enemies, into a state where they are basically stunned. And then you have to use this little zap move Sabrina has by default to turn them into humans. I guess that's maybe what the series is based off of. Then again, there's another Sabrina game that's based off a different concept, so I don't even know what the core of Sabrina as a game is like. But she also has this cat that you can playably switch to once you find them in the level, and they can only access certain areas of the map that, you know, I don't think you're able to kill any enemies as the cat, or you're not able to get them into like a stunned state or anything, but you can basically open up areas that are accessible enough for Sabrina to get through to that, you know, originally the only way you would have been able to unlock that would have been through, you know, having the cat open that up. So it's kind of got some puzzle elements, which, again, kind of like I've told you guys before, puzzles are not my strong suit. They're just not. They're just plain and simple not. Ooh, where is... Ding, 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 dong. Hey, question. Where is the Trophenscoff door? I feel like, and okay, stop me if you've ever heard me say this. Fellas, stop me if you've ever heard me say this. I feel like I remember there being a Trophenscoff door there in Rando. Oh, in Rando? Why am I going... I guess I'm just choosing to go the long way, you know? But I think there's also one that can show up over here next to, like, where we got one of the lanky cabin GBs. I don't remember. But, yeah, so it's a... Listen, man, it took me maybe 2 days to get the achievement of the week for that. The achievement of the week for that was literally just beat the game, pretty much. Okay, it's up there. But yeah, the achievement of the week for that was basically just literally beat the game. And it wasn't that bad. Now, there was a moment in it, okay? And this was something that I basically had to adjust to, and there was a learning curve of, right? I'm going to take a sip of my drink real quick. Good stuff. I had to basically adjust to the fact that Sabrina is one of those games that you basically are, I guess, maybe expected as a kid to potentially be in one sitting. So it's one of those games that you would see from back in the day where there was no saving process, and there was like, you know, you'd go back on the title screen and there was a title screen, and there was a new game and continue, and you would continue from where you last left off. It was instead that weird system that you see back on like the NES a bunch, where there was a password system, and you would occasionally get these passwords that would be tied to your game that you could put in. Now, the reality with those passwords is that you could also go online, look at someone else's password for said level you're at, and just use that, right? However, retro achievements, okay, they apparently don't incentivize that. Retro achievements is very keen, and I guess especially this would be the case if you're doing an achievement of the week, which is a little more like, I don't know, the achievement of the week I think is looked at sort of more competitively, which I don't really agree with. I don't super duper agree with that mindset, but you know, it's not egregiously bad, right? Like I'm not gonna sit here and throw a fit over it, but it is a little strange, right? It is a little strange overall. And basically, if you use, I guess, a password that has not been one that has directly been offered to you to access a level, achievements will not count, and you actually have to restart your whole save. Now, you still get the achievements that you got up to that point, but I had to learn that the hard way, because I was like, I'm not going to worry about this password system. If I need to look up a password thing, I'll look up a guide video or like a walkthrough video that someone did and just go off of that, right? That's kind of essentially what my mindset was. And that bit me in the butt, obviously. It bit me in the butt because, you know, retro achievements didn't count the achievement for beating a level that I had just beaten. And it was a level I spent a fair bit of time on. So I was like, oh, what gives? So I remember going back in the Discord and seeing people talk about, there's a channel they have for discussing specific topics about that week's achievement of the week, right? And what I learned was, yeah, you can't do that. I think a moderator even had to and ping the channel and remind people, hey, that's not a thing you can do. It won't count for the achievement. So, lo and behold, as you can imagine, it didn't count for the achievement, and I had to basically restart my progress on the whole game. Now, I didn't mind it terribly because it was pretty easy to get back to the point that I was at, but nonetheless, it was a bit of a hindrance, right? Like, it was a little bit of a hindrance. Also, just want to point this out while we're here. Yes, we are, you know, just as how last world we were actually rematching Dogadon from Angry Aztec, we are now rematching Armadillo from Jungle Japes, all the way back at Jungle Japes, bro. He's got a bit of a harder sort of moveset. He doesn't really throw in anything terribly special moveset-wise in like Dogadon did, where there's this whole hunky-chunky section. As you get to see, you know, Donkey Kong, we're playing as the same character. There is no, like, segment where maybe they make you use Strong Kong. He does introduce a new move, which we will probably see here in a minute. But he's not really much different, all things considered. But, yeah, so Sabrina the Animated Series, zapped. My review of the game. Good game. I might actually end up doing a full mastery of the game at some point. Boy, would it be funny if I ever did a Let's Play of that game. It wouldn't obviously be the longest game in the world because it's like 4 worlds, and the world structure for that game is basically you do 4 levels in the world like it's Mario Bros, and then there's a 5th level which is basically the boss. So it might as well just be kind of basically the Super Mario Bros. 1 format, right? But it is genuinely, I mean, the hardest adjustment to the game for me was the fact that it's kind of got puzzle elements. That was ultimately the toughest adjustment, if anything, when it came to that game. And, I didn't incredibly hate it or anything. It just took a minute, and there were certain areas where maybe I had to look up a guide, which, honestly, with anything retro achievements, especially if I'm playing a game that I don't know, a game that I know jack all about, right? Yeah, I'm kind of expecting to have a guide handhold me, just like the olden days, right, of video games. But I don't mind it. Genuinely, I think it is completely fine, and I don't really find there to be an issue with it necessarily. Man, I just gotta say as well, this boss is definitely longer than in Rando. Here I go bringing up Rando again. Okay, so this is the quirky little thing that he brings out. He kind of just pulls this out, and he shoots his fireballs. Yeah, you essentially just gotta roll your way out of stuff. And then he throws this nuke out. Good strat, by the way. Yeah, just have him hit the barrel. I know, very underwhelming. He might... Okay. I really was convinced that he was going to have to make me do another cycle, which wouldn't have been an issue. As you could tell, obviously, the DNA of that boss was literally just Armadillo 1, which is not a hard boss. Just with a little extra, like, it throws in some of the harder segments earlier, right? It throws in some of the harder segments earlier, and really, that's all there is to see about it. Now, here's the interesting thing, fellas. I thought we were actually going to have time within a maybe 20-minute time period to maybe start on some stuff with Creepy Castle. Now, we could probably go ahead and turn in this key. I don't really think there's going to be much of an issue in doing that, but I don't think we're going to be able to do anything in Creepy Castle this episode, so kind of interesting that everything we were doing was basically 3 GBs for Chunky, and then the boss, and then that's the episode. Admittedly, I kind of only thought we actually had one main, like, GB to do with Chunky left, and then we were good, and then we did the boss, but, you know, turns out there was some extra stuff. Hey, what can you really do about it? Also, something that I want to mention before I end off this episode, by the way, fellas. Cool little noteworthy thing here. Whoa. Oh. Now, okay, yeah. So I think in order to mess with that, we have to beat World 7, right? We have to beat World 7, bro. Okay. You have to beat Area 7, which we'll get down to. Don't worry. We'll get around to it. But, yeah, the thing I was going to mention, fellas, I don't know exactly if it showed up in the last episode, but my mic gain was up a little bit, so if I'm a little loud in the episode before this, obviously I should be fine now, but if I was a little loud in the last episode, I apologize. I'm sure it'll be fine. I wouldn't really worry about it that much. Anyways, fellas, hey, that's going to do it for part 31 of Donkey Kong 64. We are in very good hands right now, fellas. Literally all we have to do at this point is the last world, do everything we want to do in there, do the boss, and then, you know, I think it may just be time for K-Roll, which is pretty good stuff. I am almost positive this Let's Play is not going to be as long as Jamboree, but it will be our second longest Let's Play, and that is pretty cool. That is pretty cool, and I cannot deny that regardless. Anyways, fellas, that's going to do it for this episode of Donkey Kong 64. Fellas, if you enjoyed this video, maybe like, comment, subscribe. I don't know, it's your life. Do what you want. I don't really care. And I will see you fellas in the next video. Bye-bye, guys.